Let me ask you a question. How many of you here tonight are holding a ticket? Not a ticket for this event. I'm talking about a different kind of ticket. A ticket for a train. You're standing on a platform, suitcase in hand, waiting. You've been waiting for hours, days, maybe even years. You keep checking the schedule, staring down the tracks, listening for a whistle that never comes. That train is an apology. And while you're standing there, frozen in that station, your life is passing you by. This right here is the core of the prison. It's not the original hurt, though that was bad enough. It's the waiting, the expectation. Think about that word for a second. Expectation. It comes from the Latin meaning to look out. You are constantly looking outward, away from yourself, for something to arrive that will finally grant you permission to feel better, to be free, to move on. You have handed the keys to your own happiness, your own peace of mind, to someone who has already proven they are not a safe keeper of your heart. You are a hostage, and the ransom being demanded is a word, sorry, from someone who may have no intention of ever paying it. And what is the cost of this waiting? Let's be real about it. It's a quiet tax on your soul, deducted daily. It's the mental rehearsal of that conversation for the 1000th time, where you finally deliver the perfect speech, and they, of course, break down in tearful remorse. It's the energy you burn staring at your phone hoping for a text that will rewrite history. It's the bitterness that seeps into your new relationships because you're waiting for the new person to make the same old mistake. It's the anchor of the past, chained to your ankle, dragging behind you as you try to swim toward your future. You are paying for a debt they owe, with a currency only you possess. Your time, your focus, your present moment. I need you to understand this clearly. The cage is not the memory. The cage is the weight. The bars are not made of steel. They are made of if only. If only they would admit what they did. If only they would acknowledge the pain. If only they would give me that apology, then I could finally live. That is the most dangerous lie we tell ourselves, because it postpones our healing. It mortgages our joy to a bankrupt source. You have to see the situation for what it truly is. You are in a battle for your own peace. And right now, by waiting, you are fighting with one hand tied behind your back. You're following the rules of a game they walked away from long ago. They have moved on. They are living their life, perhaps completely unaware of the real estate they still occupy in your mind. And you're the guard, still patting down visitors at the gate of a museum that closed down years ago. The exhibit is over. The pain is old. But you're still there, collecting tickets for a show nobody is coming to see. So how do you break out? It starts with a single revolutionary decision, a decision that is yours and yours alone to make. You have to look at that train schedule, see that the train was never coming, and finally, you have to turn around. You have to pick up your suitcase, walk out of that station, and step into the sunshine. You declare to yourself and for yourself that the wait is over. Not because they sent you a telegram, not because they finally saw the light, but because you decided that your life is worth more than a perpetual vigil for a ghost that will never appear. This is the moment you stop being a prisoner of their past actions and become the warden of your own future. You change the question from, when will they apologize, to the only question that truly matters, what am I going to build with my freedom now that I have it? The train isn't coming. And that is your ticket to freedom. So you've made the decision. You've turned your back on that empty train station. But now you're standing out here in the open, and a new question hits you. Okay, so what now? How do I actually close this chapter? How do I shut the book on something that still feels so open? This is the moment where we have to get real about one of the most misunderstood ideas out there. We have to talk about the myth of closure. We've been sold a lie. We've been told that closure is a thing you get. It's a package delivered to your doorstep. It's a final conversation, a signed confession, a tearful apology that ties everything up with a neat little bow. We treat it like a transaction. You hand them the invoice for your pain, and they hand you back a settlement called closure. And if they don't pay up, Well, then you're just stuck with this unresolved, open wound forever. That's what we tell ourselves, isn't it? But I'm here to tell you that's a fantasy, and waiting for that fantasy is just another form of that same prison, with slightly different bars. True closure, the kind that lasts, the kind that actually heals you, is not something you receive. It's something you build. It is not a passive event that happens to you. It is an active process that you undertake for yourself. It is an inside job. Think about it like this. An apology is about them. It's about their conscience, their accountability, their willingness to clean up a mess they made. But your closure, that is about you. It's about your peace, your sanity, your future. You cannot let your inner peace be held hostage by someone else's inability to admit they were wrong. That's like saying you won't repair your own house after a storm until the storm comes back and apologizes for the damage. It's absurd when you say it like that, isn't it? The storm doesn't care. It's long gone. The rain has fallen. The roof is leaking. Are you going to sit in a puddle, shivering, waiting for a meteorological miracle? Or are you going to pick up a hammer and some wood and start fixing your house? You are the only one who gets to decide when you're done. When you're finished, when it's over, they don't get to vote on that. Their silence does not get a vote. Their denial does not get a vote. You have to take back that power. You have to look at that story, that pain, and you have to declare with all the authority you possess, this ends now. I am not waiting for your permission to be done with you. This is where you separate the two things we've tangled together for far too long. An apology is a request for forgiveness. Closure is your decision to heal. They are on two completely different tracks. One is an external negotiation. The other is an internal revolution. You can have closure without ever receiving an apology, because closure is about the story you tell yourself after the hurt. It's you saying, this thing happened, it was real, it was wrong, and it is now a part of my history, but it is not the title of my book. I am closing this chapter not because it had a satisfying ending, but because I have other chapters I am desperate to write. Stop outsourcing your peace. Stop giving the most valuable real estate in your mind, your present moment, to a person from your past who isn't paying rent. You are the source of your own closure. You have the power to turn the page. You have the strength to build a new foundation right on top of the rubble of that old pain. You don't need them to hand you the key. You were the locksmith all along. The door is closed when you say it is. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're with me, you hear what I'm saying, but there's a voice in the back of your head. A quiet, persistent whisper. It says, but they don't even know what they did. They're walking around, living their life, thinking everything is fine or worse, thinking I'm the problem. If I just move on, if I close this book, then it's like it never happened. It's like they win. Can you hear that voice? I know that voice. That voice is the last guard at the gate, and it's telling you that moving on without their confession is the same as denying your own truth. So let's deal with that guard right now. Let's talk about what you're really looking for in that apology. It's not really about the words "I'm sorry." Those are just syllables. What you are truly, desperately seeking is validation. You want them to get on the witness stand of your life, raise their right hand, and finally testify to the truth. You want them to point at the hurt and say, yes, that happened, I did that, and you were right to be hurt by it. You are waiting for them to make your reality official. But I need you to hear this, and I need you to hear it good. Your truth does not require their signature. Your pain does not need their notarization to be real. What happened to you happened. The ground did not open up and swallow the memory. The hurt you felt was real, it was valid, and it mattered. The fact that they are blind to it or in denial about it does not erase the scar. A tree that falls in the forest makes a sound, whether there's anyone there to hear it or not. Your pain was that tree. It made a sound in your soul. You do not need them to have heard it for the crash to have been real. This is where you have to become your own witness, your own judge, your own jury. You have to take the stand in your own defense, and you have to say out loud to yourself, what was done to me was wrong. It was unfair, it was hurtful, and my feelings about it are justified. You have to look that pain right in the eye and affirm it. I see you, I hear you, you are real. That act, that simple, profound act of self-validation, is more powerful than any apology they could ever muster. Because an apology from them can be taken back. It can be insincere, it can be forgotten, but the validation you give yourself, that comes from a source that will never lie to you, that source is you. You have to stop giving them the power to be the final arbiter of your experience. You are handing them the gavel and saying, you decide if my pain was real. Take that gavel back. Their inability to see the damage does not mean the damage isn't there. It just means they are blind, or they are cowardly, or they are so wrapped up in their own story they can't see yours. That is a reflection of their limitations, not a reflection of your truth. So I want you to do something for me. Tonight or tomorrow morning, I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to look yourself right in the eye, past the tiredness, past the doubt, and I want you to speak your truth. Say the thing that happened. Say, when you did that, it broke a part of me. Or when you said that, it made me feel small. Say it out loud. And then I want you to say these next words, and my pain is valid. You don't need their sworn statement. You have your own testimony, and it is enough, all right. So you've decided to stop waiting. You've claimed your own closure. You've validated your own truth. That is the foundation. That is the why. But now we have to talk about the how. Because knowing you need to move on and actually doing it are two different countries. And the bridge between them is built with one powerful, deliberate word: withdrawal. I'm not talking about packing your bags and moving to a cabin in the woods. I'm talking about a strategic withdrawal. A conscious day-by-day, moment-by-moment decision to stop the emotional bleeding. You see, right now, you might be out of the train station, but you're still paying taxes to that old town. You're still sending your energy, your focus, your precious mental resources back into that past hurt. It's like you've left the scene of the accident, but you keep driving back to look at the wreckage, wondering why you're still in pain. We have to cut the supply line. Every time you mentally rehearse that conversation, you are sending a shipment of your present energy into a past battle. Every time you scroll through their social media, looking for a sign of their remorse or their happiness, either one hurts, doesn't it? You are re-enlisting in a war that you declared over. Every time you bring up the story to a friend, not for comfort, but to relitigate the case, you are reopening the wound to prove it still exists. You are the one keeping it infected. Think of your mind, your spirit, like a fertile garden. Right now, there's a patch of land where you're trying to grow your future. New dreams, new peace, new joy. But you've got a pipe, a direct line running from that beautiful, fertile soil straight back to the toxic waste dump of that old pain. And you're letting that poison leak back in over and over, killing your new crops before they can even break the surface. The strategic withdrawal is about going over to that pipe, taking a wrench and turning the valve until it's shut. For good, this is the nitty-gritty work of healing. It's not glamorous. It happens in the quiet moments. It's you catching yourself starting down that familiar mental path, and you literally saying to yourself, no, we're not going down that road today. It's you with your finger hovering over their profile picture, and you making the conscious choice to close the app and open a book instead. It's you when a friend asks about them, saying, you know, I'm focused on what's ahead now, and changing the subject. You are retraining your brain. You are teaching it that this particular destination is no longer served by your mental railways. This isn't about suppression. We're not stuffing the pain down. We already validated it. We gave it its due. Now we are simply choosing to stop funding it. We are cutting off its allowance, because you cannot heal in the same environment where you got sick. You can't heal the burn while you're still holding your hand on the stove. Withdrawal is you pulling your hand away. It is the most loving, protective thing you can do for yourself. It's a daily discipline. Some days you'll have to turn that valve a dozen times before lunch. But let me tell you something. Every time you do it, you send a message to your soul. You say, I am more important than this memory. My future is more valuable than my past. I am on my own side. And slowly, day by day, that toxic pipeline will rust shut. The connection will weaken. The noise will get quieter. Stop feeding the wound. Starve it of your attention and watch how it begins to fade. So you've stopped the bleeding. You've cut the supply lines. You're no longer feeding energy to that old story. But nature abhors a vacuum. You can't just leave that space empty. If you do, the old ghosts will try to move back in. So now we get to the most important part. The part where you pick up the pen and you start writing the next chapter yourself. This is where we change the story. Not by editing the past, but by rewriting what it means for your future. All this time you've been telling yourself a story. We all do it. It's the narrative that plays in your head. And for so long, that story has probably had a very specific title. Maybe it's called The Time I Was Betrayed, or The Story of My Heartbreak, or How I Was Wronged. In that story, what's your role? Let's be honest, your role has been the victim, and it's a role you didn't ask for. It's a role that was forced upon you. I am not here to dismiss that. The victimhood was real, the injury was authentic, but here is the turning point. The moment of your greatest power, you get to decide if that's where the story ends. You have the absolute authority to pick up that manuscript and change the genre. You can take the exact same set of facts, the same characters, the same plot twists, the same pain, and you can shift the narrative. You can change it from a tragedy about what was done to you into an epic about what you have overcome. You are not just the main character in this story, you are the author. And the author gets to decide the arc. The question is no longer, what did they do to me? The question, the powerful, life-altering question, becomes, what did I discover about myself in the aftermath? How did I survive that? Where did I find a strength I never knew I had? Maybe you discovered a fierceness in protecting your peace. Maybe you learned, for the first time, how to set a boundary. Maybe you found a depth of compassion for others who are hurting. That pain, that very same pain, becomes the refiner's fire that forged a stronger, wiser, more resilient you. See, the person who walked into that hurt and the person who walks out of it are not the same. They can't be. The key is to recognize that the person walking out isn't just wounded, they are armed. Armed with new knowledge. Armed with a clearer sense of what you will and will not accept. Armed with a profound understanding of your own capacity to endure. So, I want you to do something right now in your mind. I want you to look back at that difficult chapter, not at the hurt itself, but at your own reflection in the middle of it. Look at yourself. See yourself getting out of bed on the days you didn't want to. See yourself forcing a smile for your friends. See yourself breathing through the pain moment by moment. That person is not a victim. That person is a survivor. That person is a warrior, and a warrior's story is always more interesting, more inspiring, and more powerful than a victim's. Stop telling the story of the storm that broke you. Start telling the story of the foundation you built that withstood it. Stop telling the story of the betrayal. Start telling the story of the loyalty you now have for yourself. You are not defined by the hurt you experienced. You are defined by the power you reclaimed in its wake. You are the hero of this story, always were. It's time you started reading from the right page, so here we are. You're out of the station. You've built your own closure. You've validated your truth, cut the supply lines, and you've taken your place as the hero of your story. Now we invest. Now we build. Because all that energy you've been wasting, and let's call it what it is, wasting, on waiting, on worrying, on replaying the past, that energy is your life force. It is your currency, and you have been pouring it into a black hole. What if you took that same energy, that same intensity of focus, and you turned it 180 degrees away from the past and aimed it, like a laser, straight at your future? Think about the sheer volume of mental real estate that situation has been occupying. The daily calculations, the emotional audits, the constant background noise of what if, and if only. That is not free. That cost you something. It cost you moments of joy. It cost you focus at work. It cost you presence with your loved ones. It cost you peace. That is a high price to pay for a ghost. So I want you to do a cost-benefit analysis right now. What is the return on your investment in this pain? What dividend has it paid you? Nothing but more pain. It's a bad investment. It's time to pool your funds, and I'm not just talking about stopping. I'm talking about redirecting. I'm talking about taking that same power, that same emotional capital, and investing it in the most valuable stock that will ever exist, you. Your future self, the person you are becoming, that mental energy you used to spend dissecting a 5-minute conversation from 3 years ago. Invest it in learning 5 new words of a language you've always wanted to speak. That emotional energy you burned staring at a closed door. Invest it in knocking on a new one, a class, a gym, a volunteer organization, a conversation with a stranger. That time you spent in the middle of the night, staring at the ceiling, replaying the hurt. Invest it in reading a book that inspires you, or in crafting a plan for a goal that excites you. You have to make your future so compelling, so vivid, so magnetic, that the past simply loses its gravitational pull. It becomes a small, distant star, instead of a black hole sucking all the light out of your universe. You do that by building something, brick by brick, day by day. You start laying the foundation for a life that is so authentically yours, so full of purpose and passion, that you'll look back one day and realize you haven't thought about that old pain in weeks, then months, then you'll struggle to even remember the weight of it. This is the master key. This is the ultimate move. The best revenge is not getting an apology. It's not about them at all. The best revenge is a life lived well. It's a peace they can't disturb. It's a joy they can't touch. It's you, thriving in spite of them. It's you, not just moving on, but moving up. It's you, building a skyscraper on the very spot where they thought they had buried you. So I want you to leave here tonight with one question. Just one, and I want you to answer it with action. What is the one thing, the single, concrete thing, you can do this week to invest in your future self? Maybe it's updating your resume. Maybe it's signing up for that cooking class. Maybe it's simply taking a long walk in silence and giving that energy back to your own spirit. Do that one thing, then do another. Stop paying for a debt they owe. Invest in the life that is waiting for you. The best revenge is a life so good, you don't even need the apology.